Sveiki, greetings from Riga, the capital of Latvia. We've got the Baltic Sea just beside us here on this pleasant summer's afternoon. And increasingly, over the last while, Latvia has improved economically. It's now here, the city, a major transport hub for this part of the Baltic region, and more guys in particular from Western Europe are starting to come here, some to stay longer than just the kind of classic lad city trip here. So in this video, I'm going to outline 5 reasons to consider Latvia and its capital Riga right now. Let's go. Поехали.
SAR experience. So
the first reason that's a big advantage for you in Riga is the level of English, which is quite high. I'm assuming if you're watching this video in English that you have a pretty good command of English or you're a native speaker of English. And to give you a reference benchmark, like Sweden, Denmark, the Netherlands, these are countries where the level of English is super high, not far off native-like level. And here in Riga, in Latvia, say it's a little bit below that, but still extremely good, still extremely high, and that is a big help for you when you first arrive, in particular in Latvia, the fact that you will be able to speak with most people in English. Now, the official language of Latvia is Latvian, no surprise about that, Baltic language. And here in the city of Riga, maybe half the people either speak Russian as a native language or they speak it to a very high level. So if you're like most people who have common sense and have learned Russian but don't want to go further east to Russia or to Belarus at the moment with the Russo-Ukrainian war, then actually here in Riga is a city that you could use your Russian in quite a bit and practice it and learn it. So that's another plus for a guy who has invested in that. If you're going to spend a lot of time in the city, see a long-term future here, then I definitely encourage you to learn Latvian, because that will help with your integration and building your social circle, and also you'll get a lot of kudos from the locals here in Latvia if you can also speak Latvian ultimately. So that's the first reason, it's language and communication. So the next reason I'm going to give for coming to Riga is the party scene. So it is the biggest city in the Baltics, in these 3 Baltic states, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. Population is around 700,000 here. It's not a massive metropolis, but still a decent-sized capital city here in the region, and there are plenty of bars, clubs, cafes, restaurants where you can go and have fun on the weekend in particular, or during the weekday, during the summer months in particular. Now, here I am in the old town of Riga. It is a bit of a tourist trap, just be aware of that. It's probably not the spot in the city you actually want to hang out in. There's parts in, there's great clubs and bars in other parts of the city, but normally the tourists miss them. Another reason to be with the insider here in Eastern Europe. And overall, it is a lot of fun to come and hang out here in Riga. So number 2 as a reason is the party scene and the bars and clubs here. So the next reason is the one that all single guys are dying to ask me, well, what is it like dating in Riga? Now, the level of beauty of the local lasses here is extremely high. It's a lot of beautiful girls here in Riga, in Latvia. And this Baltic region, in fact, has 2 traits that add to the beauty mix. They are the height. The average height of a woman here in Latvia is close to 170 centimeters. And for men, it's actually over 180. It's like 182, I think, last time I checked. So definitely a lot of tall people here. So a lot of model-like girls you're going to see here around walking the streets of the old town or the new town in Riga. On top of that, we're in the region of the world with the highest incidence of blonde hair. It's quite common here. Maybe 1/3 to 1/2 of Latvians have blonde hair naturally. So if leggy blondes are your thing, then probably you're going to love Riga. So definitely for the dating scene, super good. And of course, on top of it, if you can speak Latvian and or Russian, you can do particularly well here. You're going to have a better opportunity to blend in like a local, because unfortunately, the reputation of tourists has not been great because this is a city that used to have a lot of stag parties, in particular coming from the UK and Ireland. And yeah, a lot of them were obviously here for sex tourism, and that isn't the best look. So if you can present yourself more as a guy who spent a lot of time in the region and actually interested in it for more than the beauty of its local denizens, then you're going to do even better. The next reason is not going to surprise you. If you look right behind me, it is the beautiful architecture, the old world European architecture that you'll find here in Riga, especially in the historic center of the city. And on top of that, you have the new world, the new architecture, the new Europe architecture, because this for me is new Europe here in the Baltics, the part that was in the Soviet Union before it had communism. Now 30 years later, since the fall of the Soviet Union, has embraced capitalism and its economic development has improved. It is accelerated, and that is probably the fifth reason, is just the infrastructure here in Latvia. It is first world. The airport is actually pretty good. It's like a regional hub now for this part of the Baltics region, and you have Rail Baltica that is being built at the moment, which is going to connect Warsaw, which for me is like the capital of this new Europe here in the eastern part of the European Union, and it's going to run all the way up through Lithuania to here in Riga. Actually going to have a stop at the airport also in Riga, and then head on to Estonia, and then eventually there's going to be even a tunnel under the Baltic Sea to Helsinki in Finland. So yeah, you can have the best of both and actually live here in Europe, in the eastern part. Now, I haven't mentioned prices, which is kind of an exception normally in my videos, because here in Riga nowadays in Latvia, it is not super cheap or anything. Definitely the price level is approaching that in Western Europe. It still is a bit cheaper, but it's not the massive price difference that you're going to see, say, in countries like Ukraine or even Poland. It feels a bit more expensive here in Riga. So just be aware of that, that it is going to be a little bit cheaper, but it's not the massive price difference. So those are my 5 reasons to consider Riga in Latvia right now in 2023. So far in 2023, I've been here in Riga a little bit during the winter with a client, and now I'm back with a client here towards this summer. Unfortunately, we're very unlucky with the weather. We missed out on that epic heat wave afflicting most of Europe by a week or two, and actually this is the first few hours of sunshine that we've gotten. But nonetheless, my client who's here with me, it's kind of typical of the clients who are now living the Zara experience, and he wants to spend actually more than, I will say, the minimum 3 to 12 months, right? But he actually wants to spend all his time here in Eastern Europe, or at least 9 months of the year, because obviously in winter it can be a little bit cold and unpleasant, depends on your preference. You can go somewhere else where it's sunnier. And we're actually focusing on a few core things. Like, he didn't want to come down here on his own. He's probably going to get, trapped in one of those tourist bars with a lot of other tourists in the old town drinking those meter-high beers, and it kind of been a bit lame. It's not where the creme de la creme of the city hangs out, and definitely not where the hotties hang out either here in Riga. So he didn't want the tourist experience. So we're looking at a few options to help him on that. One is to get him an EU passport, not just residence, but actually first residency and then a passport through residency. Other option is actually citizenship by descent. A lot of Americans obviously have some European heritage. The most popular are Irish and Italian. They can be the easiest nationalities to get by descent. And then, of course, as an EU citizen, you can live everywhere in the European Union. Here, Latvia has been part of the European Union since 2004, so you have right to live, work as a local citizen, almost 100% here in Latvia with that passport. The other thing we're working on is optimizing his dating profile for him. He actually does pretty well in the dating sphere, but want to make that a little bit better, and also to help him with overcoming his shyness a little bit in terms of meeting new people and expanding his social circle. So not just for dating, but also to make local contacts and friends here in, potentially in Riga or somewhere else in the region. He's also been spending some time down in Poland. And that is really important because you don't want to end up billing nomads if you come here to Eastern Europe and you step part of your life here. The dating is exciting and everything, but that will wear thin once the novelty starts to fade and you're friendless in somewhere like Riga in Latvia. So that's what I help my clients with, my high-level clients with in Eastern Europe, in New Europe in reality. So with the Russo-Ukrainian war, I'm not currently going to Russia, Belarus, and sadly not Ukraine either. And hopefully that will change. Fingers crossed on the Ukrainian front. And over the last year, I've been bringing my clients not just here to Riga in Latvia, but also to Warsaw in Poland. And that has got the advantage of becoming, like I mentioned, Rail Baltic is actually going to start in Warsaw. And for me, Warsaw is becoming the capital city of New Europe, as I call it. So the eastern part of the European Union into, hopefully transport links are also going to go into Ukraine, going to be advanced over the coming years as well. And there you have, especially in terms of quality of life and dating, you have obviously the pretty Poles, and massive diasporas of Ukrainians and Belarusians. You got the beautiful Belarusians and the cute Ukrainians as well. So that has been really a city that's transforming itself in terms of what it can offer you as a place to set yourself up. Also been going to crazy Chisinau in Moldova, the country right beside Ukraine, small, sandwiched between Romania and Ukraine. Kind of has a bit of a mix of both culturally because it's Romanian speaking officially, but also got a high percentage of Russian speakers, a bit like here in Riga. Great nightlife, especially during the winter, but also pretty good during the summer. Spent a lot of time there last summer with clients in particular. And then finally we have Almaty the Almighty, the big apple of Kazakhstan, just off the Central Asian steppes. Was there in autumn, had a fantastic autumn in Almaty, also there this summer, and about to go back there after this trip to Riga and down to Warsaw and move over to Almaty. Really amazing city, especially during the summertime. It does have skiing in the winter, Almaty, but during the summer it's just so green, the city. It's absolutely beautiful. You got the mountains nearby, you got lakes, and you have a really sophisticated, highly developed city in Almaty. Really amazing place. So I've been going there as well. Now, you're probably asking yourself, Connor, how do I get to live the Czar experience with you? Down below in the description is an application form because it is by application only. I screen my clients. I don't want some person who's not going to revel here in Eastern Europe to come along with me. It's not going to be good for you if you were that person to come with me, and it's not going to be good for me either. So I make it by application only. Down below is the application form. So before you fill that out, I implore you to go and check out a few playlists I put together. The first one I'm going to link up above in the card down below in the description is for the cities where I lived the Czar experience. Also got some previous ones from a few years ago with client testimonials as well there. Go check those out so you get a bit more of the flavor, a feel for what it's like to come here to Eastern Europe, to these kind of cities. And then the second playlist is my set of tutorials on how to date the 9s and 10s, the Olympian level of beauty here in Eastern Europe, because this is, in my opinion, the region in the world with the highest concentration of beautiful women. And finally, if you really want to dive deep psychologically into the mindset of Eastern Europe, I have my Vodka series. There's over 50 hours of content there, long format, and go and check that out as well. And if you think that you are a good fit for the Czar experience, down below is the application form. And as a famous Canuck ice hockey player, Wayne Gretzky, once quipped, he's actually a guy of Belarusian origins whose grandmother was Ukrainian speaking and had lived in what is now today Poland. And he said, you miss 100% of the shots that you never take. So down below is that application form. And on that note, bid you a very pleasant evening. I'm going to step back into the sunshine since I haven't seen it for a few days here in Riga. Ciao, ciao. Do svidaniya. See you in the next video.
Czar Experience.